Belina Kako. Welcome to episode 4 of Hanohano Lānaʻi, a series brought to you by Love Lānaʻi. Through this series, we delve into the unique history and culture of our beloved island home. Every place in the world is unlike any other, and Lānaʻi is definitely not an exception. Join me as I feature the distinct aspects of Lānaʻi that make our home so special. On this episode, we continue to learn about Lānaʻi's diverse history. Let's quickly recap what we learned in the last episode, shall we? We begin with the introduction of pineapple, which, again, is not native to Hawaii. It was introduced around 1813. Around 1830, goats and sheep were introduced to Lānaʻi, beginning the rapid devastation of the island's native forest system. In 1832, we see the population continue to decline with a census count of 2,000 native residents. Then, in 1837 to 1840, the construction of the first stone and mortar structures commenced with the building of Kihamaniania and Kahale Palaua. Finally, in 1848, we saw, for the first time in history, the privatization of land in Hawaii, which was the result of the Mahele. Let's continue our learning journey by taking a look at how these events impacted later occurrences. By the year 1850, the population of Lānaʻi diminished to 604 residents. In 1854, Mormon elders were granted a lease of a parcel of land in Palawai to initiate an experiment to gather saints on Lānaʻi. They established their city of Joseph in Palawai. However, after several years of drought, the experiment was deemed a failure and the elders were recalled to Utah in 1858. In 1861, Walter Murray Gibson arrived on Lānaʻi. He reorganized the Mormon settlement and began expanding land holdings. In 1863, Gibson secured the entire ahupua'a of Palawai for a price of $3,000. A year later, in 1864, Gibson was accused by Mormon elders of misconduct, including extorting money from the church to purchase land, then retaining the title under his own name. The church abandoned the Palawai settlement a year later. Most Mormons that were living on Lānaʻi relocated to Laie, Oahu, or returned to their homes in Utah. Gibson stayed on Lānaʻi and continued his land grab. And in 1866, Gibson secured a lease for the ahupua'a of Kaʻohai and purchased the ahupua'a of Ka'a, followed by the purchase of Kealia Kapu. In 1868, Gibson entered into a partnership with Kamehameha V, Lot Kapua'iwa. They began a sheep ranching operation on Lānaʻi. The sheep, raised for meat and wool, were shipped off of Lānaʻi from Avalua Landing on Lānaʻi's northern coastline. As early as 1870, herds of feral goats and sheep began to ruin Lānaʻi's forests. Water resources, which were already scarce, dried out. Severe erosion caused by overgrazing led to rock slides. Native accounts recall that these rock slides posed a great danger to taro farmers in Mauna Lei, even claiming the lives of some. Walter Murray Gibson continued to broaden his control of lands on Lānaʻi. In 1873, Gibson secured a lease from the Hawaiian Kingdom government for the ahupua'a of Kealia Aupuni, followed by a lease of Pauma'i a year later. In 1875, Gibson obtained a lease for the ahupua'a of Kamoku and relocated ranch operations to Ko'ele. Also in 1875, Kalakaua, reigning king of the Hawaiian Islands, gifted Gibson with 2 Norfolk Island pine tree saplings. Both of these trees were planted at Ko'ele. Later that year, Gibson attained a lease for the ahupua'a of Mauna Lei. In 1878, Gibson gained leasehold control of Kalulu. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As we can conclude from what we learned, the 1800s were a time of great change for Lānaʻi. We saw the decline of native population, introduction of grazing animals, institution of private land ownership, and the beginning of ranching on the island, among other occurrences. On the next episode, we'll learn about the turn of the 20th century, an era that brought about even more changes for our small island home. Until then, thank you for watching. Don't forget to complete the quiz by clicking on the link in the description box below for your chance to win a $25 food credit. Good luck and ahui ho!